Welcome to this first of our filmmaker conversations. I'm Linda Blackaby. I'm a senior programmer for the Washington, D.C. International Film Festival, and I'm happy to welcome today our moderator and two guests. Two guests are Harris Doran, whose film is Fuck 'Em Right Back. I'm the first person today to say that on recording, and Dania Bdeir, whose film is WARSHA. And moderating the conversation, asking questions, is our friend and colleague Cornelius, who is one of the co-directors of California Newsreel, a film distribution company in the Bay Area. Cornelius is also the curator for the African Diaspora Film Club, as part of the Museum of the African Diaspora, and many more things. But I will now turn this over to him.
Thank you, Linda, and welcome everybody. Welcome to Dania Bdeir, who is the director of the short WARSHA, and to Harris Doran, who is the director of Fuck 'Em Right Back, which two films are in the short programs too at DC Film Fest. And I'm really thrilled to be talking to both of you because I loved both of your films, and the films have two things in common. Well, they have various things in common. I say the focus on performers who I am glad to be introduced to, and the main characters are in workplaces that don't really express who they really are, and both films are set. They're set in Baltimore and Beirut, cities with begin with the letter B, and I think that their tone is quite different. So why don't we begin with the origins and the genesis of each project? And so why don't we begin with Dania?
Hi, Cornelius. Thank you so much for having us and for selecting the film in the festival. The project started about 4 years ago. It's been a while that I'm working on it. I was in Lebanon, and I was sitting on my balcony, which overlooks all of Beirut, when there was a lot of cranes all around, because Beirut is a city constantly, or at least at the time, at least constantly reconstructing itself, constantly giving itself facelifts. And on one of those cranes, I looked up and I saw a man standing on top of the cabin. And at first I got really scared because I thought he was going to jump. But then as I kept watching him, I saw him kneel down and put his forehead to the ground. And I realized that he was praying. And it was such a beautiful sight. It kind of got stuck in my head, and it unleashed this kind of an infatuation I started having with crane operators, realizing that we kind of see cranes all around, but we never really think about the person in that little cabin operating that giant machine where he can see the world, but nobody can see him. And so I knew I wanted to make a film about a crane operator. And then I met my main actor, because I saw him. He dropped a new single and he had amazing music. I went to see him live, and he had a transcendental live performance where he was blending gender in a beautiful, seamless way. And after that, his performance, he and I started talking, and that's where we kind of came up with the idea: what if this crane operator is going all the way up there to that cabin to express a different part of himself, a desire burning deep inside that he can't really express in his daily life. And then since then, we decided to work together, and then that he would be the main actor to play that role.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for that. And I just also want to recognize that today we're filming on the beginning of Ramadan. Harris, tell us about the beginning of Fuck 'Em Right Back.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm excited the film is playing the festival. So the origins of it, so my friend Doris Kassab, who is the EP and produced the short with me, so she found DDM, who is a rapper. He's a political artist. He has like a following on YouTube, and is just a really interesting, fascinating, unique person. And she wanted to do something with him for a few years, and so I had met him. And so I thought of a feature film idea for him to star in. And so then we went down to Baltimore, where he lives, and hung out with him. And on the way back, I was like, I think we should do a short film first. And so I basically took the the first act of the feature idea, and I completed the journey, and that's what ended up becoming the short film. Yeah.
You said in the past that part of the impetus was you wanted to present something that looked at the systems that keep people down.
Yeah.
So, and your film is hilarious. I loved it. I watched it right away.
Thank you.
And several times, even before this. And you know, so I was just thrilled. And so, but
yeah,
you know, that's part of it.
So I have a political background of where, you know, when 2016 happened and the world ended, I got really involved in politics, especially on the ground here in New York, and basically helped flip the New York State Senate to protect, you know, marginalized people. And, you know, for me, growing up, I grew up in Queens. I grew up, you know, lower middle class, and I have, you know, been in the position of, like, as an artist where I've had like day jobs of where it's been, you know, and also as a queer artist, there's just sort of been like, you know, the combination of like being queer and being Jewish and, you know, being marginalized in many different ways of where it just has felt like at every sort of step, someone is there to tell you, settle down, stop it, be quiet. No, you're not going to get ahead. And so there were parallels between me and DDM's lives. And so I was able to take that and put that into a comedic idea, because I feel like, you know, the world is really dark right now. And I think that part of what, you know, I can do on this sinking ship of a planet is to do some comedy, you know, and I think also to look at, you know, how people are treated in our society. And I think sometimes the best way of getting people to listen is through comedy. And so that's, you know, how it sort of came about. Yeah.
And one more question about DDM. I didn't know him before. He's you know, out as a gay man and in the rap world, which is not, there's not a lot of us, you know, there. So it's amazing who he is, and I followed his other things that he's doing, and his Facebook and the secretary of what is it?
Secretary of Shade. Secretary of Shade.
Yes.
That's his political stuff, and it's amazing. And he, you know, he's really inspiring. I mean, he is the sweetest person you'll ever meet, the hardest working person you'll ever meet. Like his talent is not an accident; it's from a lot of hard work. And you know, he is someone who, you know, as you can imagine, is like a queer Black rapper in Baltimore, has been through a lot. And I think, you know, when you go through a lot in your life, there's a certain point where you're like, I have nothing to lose, so I might as well just be myself, right? And so he's a real inspiration in that way of like, you know, and he's loved for it. I mean, that's what you find out in the end, right? Of like in life is if you truly can be yourself fully with what you think other people judge you for or your flaws, people end up loving you. And he is an extremely lovable person for that. And he's kind and he's caring to people. So yeah.
Well,
and wildly talented. Yeah,
right. So Dania, Kansa, you mentioned that you saw his performance, and tell us more about him and his and how you worked collaboratively on this project, because it's, you know, it's him and it's also and your magic with his performance.
Yes, of course. So Hamza, when he dropped his single 4 years ago, it was his first song, and that's when he was kind of presenting himself as an artist. It was a beautiful song with, he's a singer, he's a songwriter, he's a music producer. The music video was great, where he the director intercut footage of like home videos of a young boy with the Arabic belly dancing outfit on, kind of dancing, Oriental dancing, belly dancing in front of the entire family, the aunts, the uncles, and everyone's kind of clapping around, clapping away like they're happy. But then he then plays the role of, you know, that same kid as an adult, where it's like it's not okay anymore. There's that, he's highlighting in that video that difference between, you know, dressing up as a child, as a boy, and, you know, you're dancing, but that twist in the moment where it's not okay anymore. And then he just kind of had to like keep himself all in and make himself as smaller and as like as trapped as possible. So the video first spoke to me, and then when I went to see him live, it really was an incredible experience. I really urge everyone in the world to have a chance to see him live, because it really changes you. And I can't wait for him to explode, because I think he is someone who can be extremely international. And what he does, not a lot of people do, because apart from singing, writing his own songs, dancing, he's an incredibly talented belly dancer where his waist has a battery of its own. And he also does aerial performance with chains. And he uses masculinity and femininity in a way, he jumps between them in a way that you kind of blend it and you don't even know what you're looking at some point. You're just looking at beauty. He embraces his masculine torso, but he moves in a way that you would think is feminine, and he just merges them in incredible ways. So yeah, when we started working together, he used a lot of, you know, what he went through growing up into the character, in sense of like the growing up in a household with very kind of, you know, two brothers, macho men atmosphere, and never having the privacy, because he's always sharing bedrooms and sharing space, to explore that artistic side of himself. He would always really sneak moments where he could explore that art that he had in himself from a very, very young age. So that's something he identified with a lot. And then we also added a lot of different things. He actually worked on a construction site for 3 days so that he can add this other layer. And, you know, we didn't tell anyone on the construction sites that he was an actor, so that he can be treated the same as everyone else. And so that's where he kind of got a little bit of the energy of the rest of the workers, the undocumented workers, the Syrian workers, and who are also trying to be as invisible as possible in their workday. And, you know, we just kind of, since we had 4 years to work on this film, because we were fundraising mostly because it's so crazy as an idea, it's kind of ambitious, we really just like kept putting on layer after layer to build this character, and we built it together. And it was his first time acting, and he has no lines of dialogue, but he did so well, and he's so good at body language. And, you know, when you see him perform, you wouldn't think this is the same person as you see him in the beginning of the film, as Muhammad in the film. But I think he did an incredible job.
I agree, definitely. And part of the film is present in the film is this character having to be secretive about his desire and engagement with this character of a performer. You had said also that in the film are people who are Syrian refugees or immigrants in Lebanon who are, you know, part of the film. Did they also know Kansa's story? Did they know what they were becoming a part of?
Yes, I mean, at the end of the day, one of the things that really kept, and I keep trying to kind of push that forward, especially whenever we talk about it with audiences that aren't used to this kind of like flipping, is going back to the fact that this is, at the end of the day, someone who wants to perform, to sing, to dance. So like kind of facing that initial fear of like, what are you talking about? And you know, simplifying back to, what am I talking about? It's a person, a human being who wants to dance and perform and sing and be seen and be celebrated, and just kind of reminding people that why is it that shocks you so much when you hear it, and why is it that you would jump and assume things that go way beyond and way more intimate, like sexuality or whatever. So starting in that first place of let's just start with that and enjoy and celebrate that. So yes, we did have all of the background actors, the extras, are actual Syrian workers that were from another construction site. They were very happy about, you know, telling the story of a crane operator already. So they were very much giving me all of this insight on how their day goes, you know, what the boss tells them, where they stand up, where they find their humor and their moments of joy in their days and stuff. And even when I was researching and visiting construction sites, one of the first time I visited a construction site, everyone kept telling me, oh, you're a director, wait a second, we have to call this guy called Abed. They kept looking for him all day, and then at some point I had to leave, and then this guy started running after me and said, are you a director? I said, yeah. He said, I'm Abed, can I sing for you? And I was like, wow, of course you can. I mean, I don't know anything about music, but of course I would love to hear your voice. And he sang and he had a beautiful voice. And I think in that moment, they kind of thought maybe it would be, the chance of getting discovered. But it's also really when I realized that, of course, of course, someone would have a talent, a desire. What else would you doing where if you hadn't happened to be born in this situation, in that job? So it just kind of opened up, and yeah, everyone knew what they were acting in as a film about a person who has a dream to perform and to be seen and to do whatever they want to do when there's no a million people watching or a million rules telling you you can or can't.
So back to the issue of being a crane operator, and I will admit I guess I have fear of heights because it triggered that in watching your film. Your film goes for a lot of different areas. I mean, it's very claustrophobic at some point with where all the workers are sharing the same space, where they're living together, they're in their van, and then it opens up when Muhammad goes onto the crane. So I like to. It was amazing. It was very magical to watch this, and I'd like to hear more about how you filmed all that, and because there were aerial shots, and they're beautiful and they're expansive. And how did you do all that?
How did you do it? It's quite an adventure, actually. When I first wanted to make this film, I'm not used to working with studios or VFX. So first I told my producer, my French producer, I want to shoot everything in reality, figure it out. Like, I want authenticity. You solve the problem. I just, the artist wants what they want. And then in 2018, when we went to shoot a teaser, me, Khansa, and a camera operator, we wanted to shoot a teaser so that it can help us fundraising. And everyone knew what we were going to do that day. But then after we got a few shots on the ground of the construction site, when it was time to climb the ladder, the camera operator kind of froze. And he just looked up and he told me, listen, I'm so sorry, Dania, I have kids. Good luck. I hope you get what you need. He gave me the camera. He's like, there's no way I'm going up there. And so I had to go up there. I put the camera in my backpack, and I'm comfortable with heights. I usually seek them out. But the moment I got off the safety of the bridge and into the ladder, I actually got vertigo. I got blurry vision, and I really had to grab onto that ladder and stay focused. And I did go up, but that's really when I realized how vulnerable you are in that position, how scary it is. And when I got up there and we shot, that day I called the producer and I told her, okay, you're right. There's no way we're shooting this up there. Let's start thinking of other solutions. And thankfully, she had met this post-production house, this VFX house in the south of France called La Planète Rouge, the Red Planet. And they were just finishing to build a virtual production studio, which was the second largest one in France, I believe, that was decked out with a very new technology called Unreal Engine, which is what they use on The Mandalorian, on Disney films, on Star Wars, where instead of a green screen, you have kind of a floor-to-ceiling curved LED wall. And so what we did is I flew a drone in Lebanon and got from the height of a crane at different times of day, 3D images, and then we send them to France and they put them in the LED wall. And so most of what we were shooting was almost on like real camera. There was, instead of Khansa having to imagine being in a studio in France and imagine that he's overlooking all of Lebanon, he could actually see all of Lebanon from that height right outside the cabin glass. And me and the DP could actually look in our frame and come up with creative ideas. We were seeing everything. It felt like we were in Lebanon while we were in south of France. I'm so lucky and so privileged to have the chance to have worked with this technology. Is Michael okay? Everyone can hear me? Yeah. So that's how we did it.
That's fascinating, and it was truly magical. And part of your film, I remember, much of it sort of gritty in the beginning when they're inside, and I want to turn to Harris now because gritty is something I sort of associated with Baltimore. But I
just want to say my hands are sweating, my palms are sweating from that story of you getting up on there. Like literally, like I'm sweating here. I can't believe you did that. Wow. I can't even go up like a ladder. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely feel the same way.
The
Yeah.
things
But
you do for film, the things you do for art.
No, I wouldn't.
but in Fuck 'em Right Back, I was, rather than the grittiness of Baltimore, I was experiencing the color and vibrancy
Yeah.
and of the wardrobe and the um the walls in DDM's apartment. So talk about the art direction and
Sure.
what you did with that and collaborating with DDM on that.
Sure. So and he designed his own clothes. And he, and I picked out what I wanted from his wardrobe. And then, in terms of the art direction of the whole film, I wanted it to be very poppy. And a lot of my work tends to be like that, where there's a lot of sort of poppy color. Because I find it cinematic in terms of like, if you're trying to create a tone, you're trying to create a comedic tone, one of the ways of doing that is through art direction, as opposed to like, if you don't have the ability to do like insane camera work, right? If you're on like a tight budget and a tight timeline, art direction is a way of like creating tone where you feel like we're in this like other world, this sort of more comic booky kind of feeling world. And so that's what I did. I got, I had an assistant who was helping me, and I, basically did most of the shopping, and I was looking for like poppy, especially like there's a lot of like poppy pink that I sort of used throughout the film. And that's, the choices of like how to make things pop, and so in terms of, the location that we shot the party in, and, it was all, what can we get that's colorful? Like what props can I get that's colorful? And then in terms of, a lot of the wardrobe was from people's closets, and I was having them send me a lot of stuff, and they'd be like, yes, this, and like pop. And then we had a really great gaffer who was like, in terms of the lighting, was able to add a lot of like splashy color throughout. And so I was just very fortunate in terms of like the whole crew that I had, where most of them were, all of them were from Baltimore, but only 3 of them were professionals, and everyone else was basically like recent, film school grads who I was like, okay, I'll train you. I trained the AD, I trained the script supervisor, and it's just like, that's how we're going to make this film, and so, yeah. And so it was, yeah.
Well, I mean, again, the film is hilarious, and the performances are wonderful, from DDM and Kara Young and as Yolanda. So, how much was it? How much was it? Was it scripted, and how much was it kind of improv? Yes.
So it was very scripted. I shot it as written. DDM went through before we shot to be like, I would say this more like this. But in general, it was extremely scripted. I let them improv. A little of that made its way into the movie, but for the most part, it was like by the script, because it needed to be tight. And so, because I edited it as well. And so like in the edit, there was all of this great improv, and it was brilliant. But in terms of like keeping it tight and moving, a lot of it didn't actually make the cut, but was super brilliant. I mean, Kara specifically is a brilliant comedian, a brilliant actress, and like take after take after take was just absolutely phenomenal. And she was just on Broadway with Uzo Aduba in the play Clyde's, which is Lynn Nottage's play, and then Boots Riley, she's in like the new Boots Riley series. So yeah, everyone's knowing about her. She was highly recommended to me by someone, and so she is a gift as an artist. It's just such a pleasure, is so generous, and is just so incredibly talented.
I definitely agree. We're coming at the end of this Q&A. This very exciting Q&A. I have a couple more questions. One, Harris, given that we're speaking out the title of the film, "Fuck 'Em Right Back," the graphics for the title make it kind of unclear if that's what the title is. What was the decision behind that?
So to me, it was very from the beginning that the title would be "Fuck 'Em Right Back," and I was sort of like, it's a comedy. Is this funny? Is that title too hard? And so I decided to put in like really weird characters to, basically be like, this is fun. Because the title, I think, should sort of be like, this is what the movie's going to be. And so it has the edge of the title, but has the quirkiness of the different characters in it. And so that's what I ended up doing, where I felt like, oh, this does represent the film.
Okay.
That's where that came from. Yeah.
And the final question for you is that, are you going to try to do a feature with this?
To be continued.
To be continued.
We'll
Okay, great.
Not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And Dania, congratulations! You got award, jury award at Sundance for this for one amazing film. What's going to happen with it?
Well, WARSHA, it was. I was just going to say that "Fucking Right Back" is a great title, and it's also the first short I watched when Sundance started. I was like, that one, plus the image and the logo, and like it really popped, so that worked. So Sundance was our world premiere. After that, we did South by Southwest, and we did BFI Flair, and coming up we have Aspen, which I think also "Fucking Right Back." Yeah.
We were just in BFI. Yeah, we're following each other.
That's good. It's gonna be fun. I mean, and we're also doing Outfest, and basically we're kind of touring with festivals, which is always fun. It's the best part. After working on something for 4 years, actually getting to share it with an audience and hear their feedback and all of that is really, really the best part. As much as I can, winning at Sundance meant that we're also eligible for the Oscars. So we're going to try to kind of ride that wave and see if we can get some buzz together for next year's Oscars, hopefully. And
I think you have a good shot. I want to say, like, your short was one of my very favorites of Sundance.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh,
I love this mutual admiration society we have here going on here.
I'm glad. Yeah, I didn't know who you were going to choose in this Q&A. It's nice that because also Sundance we didn't get to go. So it's because it was virtual, so at least we got to meet somehow, and we'll be friends now. So we're touring as much as I can. Try and I mean, it's expensive obviously, but as much as I can, try and couple the screening with a performance. I want to try and do that because I think it's a full package, and that's it. We're just trying to spread it around the world as much as possible, and I'm currently working on my first feature. That's why I'm in France now. I'm in a screenwriting lab, so I'm hoping this can kind of be the beginning of something, and we can move forward and do features next. And Khamsa wants to release a new album that sounds amazing, and he's also, in case anyone here is listening, also looking for a manager and a record label and all of that stuff. So check it out, and you can follow us on Instagram, both the film and him, to get updates on everything.
Okay. Thank you very much. And Harris, is there a way to follow you too?
You can follow me on Instagram, Harris Doran, @HarrisDoran.
Okay.
And I have a website, harrisdoran.com.
Okay,
I keep it consistent. Great. Yeah.
So great. Dania Bdeir, director of WARSHA, and Harris Doran, "Fuck 'Em Right Back." Thank you very much. And sure, the films are in shorts program too at FilmFest DC. And thank you, everybody. And bye. Enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.